Hello, and welcome. Before we begin, I need to make something very clear. Everything I share with you today is general information only. It is not personal financial advice. Everyone's situation is different. Everyone's needs are different. So please, before you make any decisions about your money or your retirement, speak with a licensed financial advisor who can look at your specific circumstances. All right, let's begin. I want you to take a deep breath with me, right now. Breathe in, hold it, and breathe out. Because I know why you are here. I know what keeps you awake at night. It is not just the worry about having enough money. It is something darker, something more insidious. It is the fear that someone, somewhere, is trying to take what you have worked your entire life to build. And here's the hard truth. That fear is not misplaced. Because there are schemes out there, real schemes, designed specifically to target Australians over 50, designed to look legitimate, designed to sound safe, designed to promise you everything you have ever wanted in retirement, security, income, peace of mind. And they are very, very good at what they do. Perhaps you have already received the phone call, the one that starts with a friendly voice asking if you are happy with your superannuation returns. Or maybe you have seen the advertisement, the one with the smiling couple on a beach promising guaranteed returns with no risk. Or perhaps a friend mentioned an investment opportunity at a barbecue, something that sounded too good to be true. And you felt that little flutter in your stomach, that mixture of hope and suspicion. You are not alone. Thousands of Australians, just like you, are facing this same dilemma every single day. And the stakes have never been higher. Because unlike when you were younger, you do not have decades to recover from a mistake. You do not have the luxury of time. This is your retirement we are talking about, your security, your dignity, your ability to live the life you imagined after all those years of hard work. So today, I am going to walk you through the schemes that are out there, the ones that target people exactly like you. I'm going to show you how they work, why they are so convincing, and most importantly, how to protect yourself. Because knowledge is power, and by the end of our time together, you are going to have the tools you need to spot these schemes from a mile away. Now, let me tell you something. I have been working in financial planning for over 30 years. I have sat across the table from hundreds of Australians who came to me after they had been scammed. And every single time, they say the same thing. They say, I should have known better. They say, I felt stupid. They say, how did I fall for this? But here's what I tell them, and I want you to hear this. You are not stupid. These schemes are sophisticated. They are designed by people who understand human psychology. They know exactly what buttons to push. They know that you are worried about inflation eating away at your savings. They know that you are concerned that your superannuation might not be enough. They know that you want security, not risk, and they use that knowledge against you. So please do not feel ashamed if something I described today sounds familiar. Do not feel embarrassed if you have been approached by one of these schemes, because recognizing the danger is the first step to protecting yourself, and that is exactly what we are going to do together today. Let me take you back. Let me paint you a picture of what retirement used to look like in Australia. Go back 30, 40, 50 years, back when things were simpler, back when a handshake meant something, back when your word was your bond. If you retired in the 1970s or 80s, you probably had a defined benefit pension from your employer. You knew exactly what you were getting. Every fortnight, like clockwork, a payment would arrive. You did not have to worry about the stock market. You did not have to make investment decisions. You did not have to wonder if your money would last. It was simple, it was predictable, it was secure. And if you didn't have an employer pension, well, you had the age pension from the government. It might not have been lavish, but it was enough, because back then things cost less. A house was affordable, petrol was cheap, you could go to the doctor without worrying about the gap payment. Life was different. But somewhere along the way, things changed. The government introduced compulsory superannuation in the early 1990s. Now that was a good thing in many ways. It meant more Australians would have savings for retirement. It meant you were not completely dependent on the age pension. But it also meant something else. It meant you were now responsible. You had to make decisions. You had to choose funds. You had to understand investment options. You became your own fund manager, whether you wanted to or not.
And then the world started moving faster. The internet arrived. Global financial markets became connected. Information started flying around at lightning speed. And suddenly, retirement planning became complicated. Really complicated. You went from a world where things were straightforward to a world where you needed a university degree just to understand the paperwork. Now, add to that the economic pressures. Interest rates have been on a roller coaster for decades. Property prices have skyrocketed, especially in our major cities. The cost of living keeps climbing. Inflation comes and goes, but it always takes a bite. Healthcare costs cost more every year. And that age pension, the one that used to be a safety net, well, the thresholds and means tests have become tighter and tighter. So here you are. You are approaching retirement, or maybe you are already there. You look at your superannuation balance and you wonder, is it enough? Will it last? What happens if I live to 90? What happens if I need aged care? What happens if something goes wrong? And that is when they arrive. The scheme operators, the scammers, the fraudsters. They can smell that uncertainty. They can sense that fear. And they come knocking with their promises and their glossy brochures and their convincing stories. Now, why are older Australians targeted specifically? Let me be blunt about this. It is because you have money. Decades of working, decades of saving. Your superannuation balance is probably the largest it has ever been. You might own your home outright. You might have savings in the bank. You are what they call, in the most cynical terms, a target-rich environment. But it's not just about the money. It's also about trust. Your generation was raised to be polite, to listen, to give people the benefit of the doubt. You were taught that most people are fundamentally good. And that beautiful quality, that trusting nature, is weaponized against you by these criminals. They also know that you might not be as familiar with technology. You might not spot the fake website. You might not recognize the phishing email. You might not know that caller ID can be spoofed. And they use that knowledge gap ruthlessly. So what are these schemes? What do they actually look like? Let me walk you through the most common ones, step by step. And I'm going to explain them slowly, clearly, because understanding them is your best defense. First, there's the superannuation switching scheme. This one is insidious. You get a call from someone who says they're from a financial advisory firm. They sound professional, they use all the right jargon. They tell you that your current superannuation fund is underperforming. They've done an analysis, they say. They have found a much better fund, one with higher returns, lower fees, better insurance, and all you need to do is switch. Now here's how this works. They convince you to roll over your entire superannuation balance into a new fund, a fund they recommend. But here's the catch. That new fund is either completely fraudulent or it's a legitimate fund that pays them enormous commissions, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars in commissions, coming straight out of your balance without you even knowing it. Or worse, they move your money into a self-managed superannuation fund, an SMSF, that they control, and then they invest your money into schemes that benefit them, not you. High-risk property developments, speculative ventures, things that are completely inappropriate for someone your age. And by the time you realize what has happened, your money is gone, or locked up, or diminished so badly that you cannot recover. The second scheme is the investment property trap. This one preys on the Australian dream of property ownership.
Someone approaches you, often through a free seminar or a dinner event, and they talk about property investment. They show you charts. They show you historical data about Australian property prices. They make it all seem so safe, so reliable. Property always goes up, they say. You cannot lose with bricks and mortar, they say. Then they offer you a package. They'll find the property, they'll arrange the finance, they'll manage the tenants. All you have to do is sign. And it sounds wonderful. Passive income, capital growth, tax benefits, everything you could want. But here's what they don't tell you. The property they sell you is overpriced, sometimes by 50% or more. They've bought it cheap and sold it to you at an inflated price, pocketing the difference. Or the property is in a location with no real growth potential. Or it's a newly built apartment in an oversupplied area where values are actually falling. And that rental income they promised, it doesn't cover the mortgage, it doesn't cover the strata fees, it doesn't cover the maintenance. And suddenly, you're bleeding money every single month trying to hold on to an asset that is dragging you under. Third, we have the Ponzi scheme dressed up as an investment fund. This one is particularly cruel. You hear about it from someone you trust, maybe a friend, maybe a family member, maybe someone from your church or your bowling club. They tell you about this amazing investment. They have been earning 10%, 12%, even 15% returns, guaranteed, every year, like clockwork. They introduce you to the person running it. The person seems credible. They have an office. They have paperwork. They have testimonials. And those returns, they seem real because your friend is getting paid. Every quarter, the money arrives in their bank account. So you invest, maybe 50,000, maybe 100,000, maybe everything you have. And for a while, it works. You get your payments. You think, this is it. I have found the answer. I can live off this income. I am set. But then, one day, the payments stop. You try to contact the person running the scheme. They do not answer. You go to the office. It is empty. You talk to your friend, the one who introduced you. They are devastated too, because they just lost everything as well. What happened? It was a Ponzi scheme. Those returns you were getting were not from legitimate investments. They were from the money new investors were putting in. It was a house of cards, and when it collapsed, everyone lost. Everyone except the person who ran it, who disappeared with millions of dollars of other people's money. The fourth scheme involves what I call the fear and urgency tactic. You receive a call or an email telling you that there is a problem with your superannuation. The government is changing the rules, they say. You need to act now, they say. If you do not do something immediately, you will lose your benefits. You will pay more tax. You will miss out on a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. They create panic. They create urgency. They do not give you time to think. They do not give you time to check. They need your decision right now, today, this minute. And in that state of panic, you agree to things you would never normally agree to. You give them access to your accounts. You sign documents you have not read properly. You transfer money before you have verified anything. Because they know something about human psychology. They know that fear short-circuits rational thinking. They know that urgency prevents due diligence, and they use that against you deliberately. Now, the fifth scheme is the grandparent scam with a financial twist. You get a call from someone claiming to be your grandchild or your child or a solicitor representing them. There has been an emergency, they say. They have been in an accident. They have been arrested overseas. They need money immediately for bail, for medical treatment, for legal fees. And they need you to send it now, through a wire transfer, through cryptocurrency, through gift cards. They are crying. They are desperate. They beg you not to tell anyone else in the family because they are embarrassed. And your heart breaks because you love them, because you want to help, and you send the money. But it was not your grandchild. It was not your child. It was a criminal who had researched you on social media, who knew your family structure, who knew exactly what to say to manipulate your emotions.
These are just 5 examples. There are dozens more. Cryptocurrency scams, fake charity schemes, romance scams that lead to investment fraud, boiler room operations selling worthless shares, phishing scams designed to steal your identity. The list goes on and on. But here's what they all have in common. They all target your emotions. They all use pressure. They all promise something that sounds too good to be true. And they all rely on you not asking questions, not checking, not verifying, not taking the time to think. Now, let me introduce you to Bruce and Jenny. They are not real people, but their story is based on real situations I have seen dozens of times. Bruce is 68. Jenny is 65. They live in a suburb about 40 minutes from the city. Bruce worked as a tradesman his entire life. Jenny was a teacher. They have 3 adult children and 5 grandchildren. They own their home outright. They have about $450,000 in superannuation between them. They have another $80,000 in the bank, and they're worried. They know their superannuation needs to last potentially another 30 years. They know the age pension will help, but only partially. They know costs are rising, and they want to do the right thing. They want to be smart. They want to protect what they have built. One evening, Bruce gets a phone call. The caller says he is from a company called Secure Future Financial Group. He tells Bruce that he has been reviewing superannuation accounts in their area, and he has noticed that Bruce and Jenny's funds are not performing well. He can help them do better, he says, much better. Would Bruce be interested in a free review? Bruce is skeptical at first, but the caller is patient. He is not pushy. He says Bruce can check them out online. He gives Bruce a website address. He says to call him back if he is interested, and then he hangs up. That night, Bruce looks up the website. It looks legitimate, professional. There are testimonials. There are credentials. It all seems fine. So Bruce mentions it to Jenny. And Jenny says, well, it cannot hurt to hear what they have to say, can it? The next week, a man named David arrives at their home. He's in his 40s, well-dressed, polite. He brings a laptop and some printed materials. He asks Bruce and Jenny about their situation, their goals, their concerns, and he listens. He nods sympathetically. He says he understands completely. Then David shows them a presentation. He explains that their current super funds are charging high fees. The returns are mediocre. They could do so much better. He shows them a comparison. Their current fund has returned 6% over the last 5 years. His recommended fund has returned 12%. That's double the returns, he points out. He also mentions that their current fund has expensive insurance premiums built in. Insurance they probably do not need anymore, he says, now that their children are grown. By moving to this new fund and canceling unnecessary insurance, they could save thousands in fees every year. Bruce and Jenny look at each other. It does sound good. David continues. He explains that he can handle everything, all the paperwork, all the transfers. They do not have to do a thing. He just needs them to sign some forms giving him authority to act on their behalf. Jenny asks about the fees. What does David charge for this service? David smiles. He says there is no upfront fee. The new super fund pays him a commission, but that does not come out of Bruce and Jenny's money. It comes from the fund's marketing budget. So really, his service is free to them. This is where Bruce and Jenny make their first mistake. They do not understand that commissions always come from somewhere, and often they come in the form of higher ongoing fees or poor investment choices. But David is convincing, and Bruce and Jenny are tired of worrying. So they sign. They give David the authority he needs, and David leaves, promising to be in touch soon with confirmation that everything is progressed. 3 weeks later, Bruce receives a letter. His entire superannuation balance has been rolled over into a new fund. He looks at the paperwork. The fees seem higher than David said they would be. The investment options are different from what he remembers discussing. He tries to call David. The phone rings out. He sends an email. No response.
Bruce starts to panic. He calls the new super funds directly. They tell him that his money has been invested in something called a high-growth aggressive portfolio. When Bruce asks what that means, they explain it is heavily weighted towards small-cap shares and emerging markets, high risk, high potential return, but also high potential for loss. Bruce never agreed to high risk. He and Jenny are in their 60s. They need safety. They need security. But the person at the fund says that's what David selected for them. And because Bruce signed the authority form, it was all done legally. Over the next 6 months, Bruce watches his balance drop. The market is volatile. His high-risk portfolio is getting hammered. By the time he finally gets proper advice from a legitimate financial planner, he has lost nearly $80,000. That is almost 20% of his retirement savings. Gone. And David? David has disappeared. The Secure Future Financial Group website is offline. The phone numbers do not work anymore. The testimonials were fake. The credentials were fake. David was paid tens of thousands of dollars in commissions for rolling Bruce and Jenny into that high-risk fund, and now he's moved on to his next victims. Bruce and Jenny are devastated. They blame themselves. They feel foolish. They lie awake at night wondering how they will manage. Jenny cries. Bruce becomes withdrawn. The stress puts a strain on their relationship. And the worst part is, they can't get that time back. They can't recover those losses. They're in their late 60s. This is not something they can bounce back from easily. Now, could this have been avoided? Absolutely. Let me show you where Bruce and Jenny went wrong and what they should have done instead. First, they acted on an unsolicited call. The golden rule is this: never, ever make financial decisions based on someone who contacts you out of the blue. Legitimate financial advisors do not cold call people offering to review their superannuation. If someone contacts you unsolicited, that is an immediate red flag. Second, they did not verify David's credentials properly. Looking at a website is not enough. Anyone can create a professional-looking website. What Bruce should have done is check if David and his company were licensed with ASIC, the Australian Securities and Investments Commission. ASIC keeps a register of all licensed financial advisors. If someone is not on that register, they are not allowed to give you financial advice. Period. Third, they did not get a second opinion. Before making any major financial decision, you should always speak to at least one other professional, preferably someone you find yourself, not someone who was recommended by the person trying to sell you something. Fourth, they did not understand the fee structure. When someone says their service is free, alarm bells should ring. Nothing is free. Someone, somewhere, is getting paid. And if you do not understand exactly how they are being paid, you do not proceed. Fifth, they were rushed. David created a sense of urgency. He made it seem like they needed to act quickly to take advantage of this opportunity. But legitimate financial planning does not work that way. Good financial advice takes time. It requires analysis. It requires careful consideration. If someone is pushing you to decide quickly, walk away. Sixth, they did not read the paperwork properly before signing. This is critical. Never sign anything you have not read thoroughly. Never sign anything you do not fully understand. And if the person is sitting there waiting for you to sign, tell them you need time to review it with your family or with another advisor. If they refuse to give you that time, show them the door. Now, what should Bruce and Jenny have done instead? Let me walk you through the right approach. When David first called, Bruce should have thanked him politely and said he was not interested. But let us say Bruce was curious. The right next step would have been to independently verify David's credentials. Check ASIC. Look for independent reviews, not just the testimonials on his website, but real reviews from real people. If David checked out as legitimate, Bruce should have asked for a written proposal, not a verbal pitch, not a slick presentation, A written document that clearly outlines the current situation, the proposed changes, all fees and commissions, the investment strategy, and the potential risks. Then, Bruce and Jenny should have taken that written proposal to an independent financial advisor, someone who charges a flat fee for advice, not someone who earns commissions on products. That independent advisor could have reviewed the proposal objectively and told them whether it was in their best interest. They should have also checked with their current super fund. Sometimes funds have financial advisors available to members at no extra cost. Those advisors could have looked at whether Bruce and Jenny were in the right investment option for their age and risk tolerance without needing to switch funds at all. And finally, they should have taken their time, days, weeks if necessary. Good opportunities do not disappear overnight. Real financial advisors understand that major decisions require careful thought. Anyone who pressures you is not acting in your best interest. Now, what can Bruce and Jenny do now? They have already lost money. They are already in the wrong investment. Is there any way to recover? The first step is to stop the bleeding. They need to immediately contact that new super fund and switch from the high-growth, aggressive portfolio into something age-appropriate, something conservative, something designed to preserve capital, not chase returns. Yes, they have lost money, but they can prevent further losses. The second step is to lodge a complaint. They need to report David and the Secure Future Financial Group to ASIC. Even though David has disappeared, ASIC keeps records. If enough people report him, eventually he will be caught, and their complaint might prevent the next person from being scammed. They should also check if the superfund itself did anything wrong. Did they properly verify David's credentials before allowing him to move money? Did they give Bruce and Jenny adequate information about the risks of the investment choice? If the fund failed in its duties, Bruce and Jenny might be able to make a claim through the Australian Financial Complaints Authority. The third step is to seek proper financial advice. They need a licensed, fee-for-service financial planner to help them create a real retirement strategy, one that accounts for their reduced balance, one that maximizes their age pension entitlements, one that helps them make the most of what they still have. And the fourth step, the hardest step, is to forgive themselves, to stop blaming themselves, to understand that they were targeted by professionals, by criminals, that it was not their fault, that they can still have a good retirement. It will require adjustments, it will require planning, but it is not over.
So what are the practical steps you can take right now to protect yourself from these schemes? Let me give you a clear, actionable list. And I am going at those slowly because I want you to remember this. Better yet, I want you to write this down. Step 1. Never respond to unsolicited contact about your finances. If someone calls you, emails you, texts you, or knocks on your door offering financial services, politely decline. If you are genuinely interested, ask for their details and tell them you will contact them after you have done your research. Then research them properly before making any contact. Step 2. Check ASIC's registers. Before you deal with any financial advisor, any investment firm, any super fund, check that they are licensed. Go to the ASIC website. Look up the Australian Financial Services License Register. Type in their name. If they are not there, they are not legitimate. And even if they are there, check for any disciplinary history or complaints. Step 3. Understand the fees completely. Ask every person you deal with exactly how they are paid. Do they charge you a fee? Do they earn a commission? From whom? How much? Get it in writing. If they are vague or evasive about fees, walk away. Legitimate advisors are transparent about their fees. Step 4. Get everything in writing. Verbal promises mean nothing. Everything should be documented. The investment strategy, the expected returns, the risks, the fees, the cooling off period, everything. And keep copies of everything.
every document, every email, every piece of correspondence. Step 5. Take your time. Do not let anyone rush you. Tell them you need time to think, time to research, time to discuss it with your family. A legitimate advisor will respect that. A scammer will pressure you. That pressure is your biggest warning sign. Step 6. Get independent advice. Before you make any major financial decision, spend a few $100s to get an independent second opinion from a fee-for-service financial planner. Someone who does not sell products, someone who just charges you for their time and advice. That small investment could save you hundreds of thousands of dollars. Step 7. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. If the returns sound too good to be true, they probably are. If you feel uncomfortable, if you feel pressured, if you feel confused, stop. Do not proceed. Your gut instinct is often right. Step 8. Talk to someone you trust. Before you invest, before you switch super funds, before you sign anything, talk to your children. Talk to a trusted friend. Talk to someone who has no financial interest in your decision. Get their perspective. Sometimes an outsider can see red flags you might miss. Step 9. Protect your personal information. Do not give out your superannuation account numbers, your tax file number, your bank details, or any other sensitive information unless you have initiated the contact and you are absolutely certain who you are dealing with. Scammers use this information to access your accounts. Step 10. Learn to recognize the common tactics: high-pressure sales, urgency, claims of guaranteed returns with no risk, complicated investment structures that are hard to understand, requests to move money overseas, requests to invest in something you cannot easily sell. These are all warning signs. Now, what about your superannuation specifically? How do you protect it? Let me give you some specific guidance here. First, know who your super fund is. Know how to contact them directly, not through a third party, not through someone who claims to represent them. Call the number on your statement. Go to their actual website by typing the address in yourself, not by clicking a link in an email. Second, set up online access to your super account if you haven't already. Check your balance regularly. Check your investment options. Check your fees. If something changes without you authorizing it, you will know immediately. Most super funds let you set up alerts so you are notified of any changes to your account. Third, understand your investment option. Are you in a balanced option, a conservative option, a growth option? Is that appropriate for your age? As you get closer to retirement, you generally want to move toward more conservative options, less shares, more cash and bonds, because you don't have time to recover from a market crash. Fourth, review your insurance within super. Do you need it? Can you afford the premiums? Is it the right type of cover? Many people over 60 discover they are paying thousands of dollars a year for insurance they don't need or cannot claim on anyway. That's money that could be growing your retirement balance instead. Fifth, understand the fees. Every super fund charges fees: administration fees, investment fees, performance fees. Some funds charge a lot, some charge very little, and over time, those fees compound. A fund that charges 1% more in fees can cost you tens of thousands of dollars over a decade. So it is worth reviewing whether you are in a low-fee fund. Sixth, be very cautious about SMSFs, self-managed super funds. They can be appropriate for some people, but they require work, they require knowledge, and they require ongoing costs. If someone is pushing you to set up an SMSF, ask yourself why. Often it is because they can charge you more fees or steer your money into investments that benefit them. Seventh, know the rules about accessing your super. You generally cannot access it until you reach your preservation age and retire. If someone is offering you a way to access your super early, it is almost certainly illegal. And if you participate, you could face significant tax penalties and even criminal charges. Eighth, consolidate if appropriate. If you have multiple super accounts from different employers over the years, you might be paying multiple sets of fees. Consolidating into one account can save you money, but do it properly, through your super fund directly, not through a third party who charges you to do what you can do yourself for free. Now, beyond your superannuation, what about your other finances? Let me give you some guidance there as well. First, understand the age pension system. Know what you might be entitled to. Know the means tests, the asset tests, the income tests. These rules are complex, but there are free resources available. The Centerlink website has calculators. Financial Information Service, FIS, offers free appointments. You can get a sense of your entitlements without paying anyone. Second, consider speaking to a financial advisor who specializes in age pension planning. Sometimes small changes to how your assets are structured can make a significant difference to your age pension entitlements. But again, make sure that advisor is licensed and fee-for-service. Third, think about your home. If you own your home, that is usually your biggest asset, and it is exempt from the age pension asset test. But could you use it to generate income? Through a reverse mortgage? By downsizing? These options have pros and cons, and they are not right for everyone, but they are worth understanding. Fourth, be very careful with debt. As you get older, taking on debt becomes riskier. You have less capacity to repay it. If someone is encouraging you to borrow money to invest, to buy property, to do anything, be extremely cautious. Debt in retirement can be devastating. Fifth, create a budget. I know it sounds basic, but many people have never actually tracked their spending properly. Work out what you need to live on, not what you want, what you actually need. Then work out what income sources you have, your super drawdown, your age pension, any other income. Does it cover your needs? If not, what adjustments do you need to make? Sixth, build an emergency fund. Even in retirement, unexpected expenses happen. The car breaks down, the hot water system fails, medical bills arrive. Having 3 to 6 months of expenses in a high-interest savings account gives you a buffer. It means you do not have to sell investments at the wrong time to cover an emergency. Seventh, review your estate plan. Do you have a valid will? Is it up to date? Do you have an enduring power of attorney? What about an advance care directive? These documents protect you and your family, and they prevent disputes. Get proper legal advice when setting these up. Eighth, talk to your family. Have open conversations with your children about your financial situation. Not necessarily every detail, but the general picture. Where your important documents are kept, who your advisors are, what your wishes are. These conversations can be uncomfortable, but they are so important. And ninth, keep learning. The rules change, the tax system changes, Centerlink rules change, super laws change. Stay informed. Attend free seminars run by legitimate organizations. Read the financial pages. Listen to reputable programs. Knowledge is your best protection. Now, let me talk about something that does not get discussed enough, the emotional side of all this. Because these schemes do not just take your money, they take your dignity, your confidence, your peace of mind. And that's sometimes harder to recover than the actual dollars. If you have been scammed, or if you have come close to being scammed, please hear me. You are not alone. This happens to intelligent, capable, careful people every single day. The shame you feel is not justified. The embarrassment is not deserved. These criminals are professionals. They are skilled manipulators. They know exactly how to exploit trust and fear and hope. You need to talk about it. Tell someone, your family, your doctor, a counselor. Keeping it secret only makes it worse. And reporting it to the authorities is not about getting your money back, although sometimes that is possible. It is about preventing it happening to someone else. It is about fighting back. It is about reclaiming some control. And if you are listening to this and you are worried that you might fall for something, that you might not spot the warning signs, then I want you to do something. I want you to tell someone you trust that you are worried. Tell them you want them to be your sounding board. Tell them that before you make any major financial decision, you will run it past them first. Having that accountability can be the difference between safety and disaster. Because here's the thing, these criminals rely on isolation. They rely on secrecy. They tell you not to talk to anyone. They tell you this is a special opportunity just for you. They tell you your family would not understand. All of that is designed to cut you off from the people who might protect you. So do the opposite. Talk, share, ask questions, get input. Now, I want to spend the last few minutes talking about something bigger, something more philosophical, because yes, protecting your money is important, but it is not everything. You are in the third act of your life. You have worked hard. You have raised families. You have contributed to your community. You have earned the right to enjoy these years, and you should not spend them living in fear. The key is finding balance, being careful without being paranoid, being informed without being overwhelmed, making smart decisions without second-guessing everything. Because here's a truth that gets lost sometimes. Most people are good. Most businesses are legitimate. Most financial advisors are honest professionals who genuinely want to help you. The scammers are the minority, but they are a loud, aggressive, persistent minority, and they get the attention. So yes, be vigilant. Yes, be careful. Yes, verify everything. But do not let the fear of being scammed stop you from living. Do not let it stop you from enjoying your retirement. Do not let it stop you from making reasonable, informed decisions about your money. Your retirement should be a time of freedom. Freedom to travel, if that is what you want. Freedom to spend time with grandchildren. Freedom to pursue hobbies. Freedom to volunteer. Freedom to simply rest after decades of work. And you can have that freedom, even if your super balance is not as large as you had hoped, even if money is tight. You can still have a rich, fulfilling retirement. It starts with acceptance, accepting what you have, accepting what you can control and what you cannot, accepting that you have done your best, and then it moves to planning, creating a realistic budget, maximizing your entitlements, making smart choices about how you spend and invest. But most importantly, it requires perspective. Money is a tool. It is not the goal. The goal is a good life.